See none on board's wishes.
Motion to approve the agenda with the one addition.
Second that.
With a motion and a second, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Public comment, if you wish to share your thoughts, please provide your name and address after being acknowledged by the board chair. Each speaker has 2 minutes to express their remarks. Seal County promotes both respect in its work environment and boardrooms. Speakers should maintain dignity and show respect towards others. Comments should be directed to the entire board, not to an individual commissioner, official, or staff. The board chair may limit comments if they are argumentative, disrespectful, or redundant. Please avoid name calling and abusive language, as this may result in being asked to return to your seat or to leave the boardroom. No action will be taken on items presented during the public comment period unless they're on the agenda. The board may refer some inquiries to the county administrator for follow-up. Is there any public comment at this time? Is there any public comment at this time?
I've listened to a couple of these things and
Ken, can you please?
Kenneth
name
Robertson,
And your address?
and at 728 Northeast 36th Street. And my concern is we have a company here that our ex-superintendent is part of, and come up someone marvelous new plan that seems to me, he said that a couple of years ago, he didn't even know there was any other plan other than one plan for the school system. Now, to take that into consideration, I think there's something wrong with this whole thing. I gotta say, I was in the contract business for years, and to me, this construction management and all that, a project like you're looking at, you need an architect and an engineer. They draw up the plans and the specs, and you put out that the fairest and the best way to do it is 3 separate bids: general, mechanical, electrical. Forget all this buddy system stuff. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment at this time?
Melissa Zimmerman. Last week was the Steele County Free Fair, and there was an incident that happened that involved the need for a coroner. I'd like you guys to think about how well that situation worked, and had that been a service from the cities or from Rochester, that would require delaying the start at least 45 minutes more. And to what end, what problem are we solving? Hiring a consultant involved increases in costs to us, given what our current costs are. There was a claimed issue that the coroner didn't respond. However, to date, nobody has been able to produce those emails showing that she hasn't responded. So again, I ask, what is the problem being solved? And if we had hired someone else that takes longer, what would that have done to the Steele County Free Fair, something that's so important to every Steele County citizen and those farther out? Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any public comment at this time? Seeing none, we'll move forward. Correspondence?
None this evening.
Consent agenda, board's wishes.
Mr. Chair, I'll move the consent agenda for approval as presented.
Second. A motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 14, we have the coroner service agreement. Board's wishes.
If you like, I can certainly summarize my meeting with the funeral homes.
Sure.
So we met with 4, Michelson's, Meagers, Warlines, and Bonnerup. And all of them expressed concerns about the time it would take to deliver a body to Ramsey. Now, there was some debate as to whether you needed 2 people in the car, 1 person in the car. It kind of depended upon who had kind of authority over the decedent at that moment in time, but the reality of it is they would have to drive up and back. And according to the terms quoted to us by Midwest, we would get a credit, but the county would be responsible for those travel costs. $350 would be our credit, anything above and beyond that would be the county's cost. So as you're comparing, we can fully expect that it's gonna be the contract amount for Midwest plus some transportation fees. Now, the number of autopsies varies from year to year. It's been roughly 20 to 25. And again, sometimes it might be that the family is requesting it, but when it's, you know, the coroner saying, I need this autopsy or whatever, then absolutely the body would need to be brought to Midwest. The other things that they talked about had more to do with the on-scene. And yes, there are concerns about the time that it takes for the death investigator to get there. But they were also talking about making sure that the law enforcement investigators are talking with the families, usually on the phone, about what their options are so that the funeral home knows that there's being appropriate respect given. So that wasn't the death investigator, but it was more about what goes on at that scene while they're waiting for the death investigator to get there.
Question.
Yep.
So there's a concern on how long it takes for the investigator to get there?
Correct.
You're talking about with the current setup, or they're concerned if we had to go outdoors so that it would be different there?
That's a current concern.
So that's interesting. And I'm not gonna call out who you talked to, but I had a conversation with a local
It came
Funeral
from
home.
3 of the 4 funeral homes.
who adamantly stated that they have no problem, and probably do the majority of the funerals in for Steele County.
They did express concern about the time that it would take to get death certificates. I know Dr. Moore had explained that sometimes that depends on a delay having to do with the time for the autopsy. The other things that they had talked about was really more, they preferred Mayo because that's who they've been using, and that's who Steele County has been using. So there was comfort in the fact that Mayo was familiar to them. They did talk a little bit about something about how Mayo used, some of Mayo's choices for carriers, but that I think is a funeral home issue that could be addressed in a conversation with Mayo. They did talk a fair amount about rotating transportation responsibilities. Again, not a coroner, medical examiner question, but those rotations would be impacted if the board chose to go with a company like Midwest. With Mayo, it seemed like the 2 Owatonna funeral homes were more likely to have the staff available. The other 2 smaller firms said, you know, they'd be happy to help, but they didn't have the staff here in Owatonna or the staff in Steele, because both of those had offices in other communities, and they would be coming up to their Steele County facility. They did talk about the cremation fee as maybe a way of offsetting some of the costs of moving forward with one of the 2 firms, which charges a per diem rate, or excuse me, a per capita rate, not an a la carte. And I think the biggest issue from the staff's perspective is predictability, because under your current system, the coroner charges an annual fee, and then everything else is a la carte. So every autopsy is an additional cost. The hourly rates for the death investigators, a different cost. Even the time using Julie to support Dr. Moore, there's a cost to that. And so looking at those numbers, it's very much a function of how many deaths in the county and how many autopsies are needed and that sort of thing. So we did have 1 year where Mayo didn't bill us for autopsies, and so we got a huge bill, and I think that was in '24, because there were some billing hiccups. And so from year to year, there could be some volatility with sticking with the current plan. If you go with a firm like Midwest or Mayo's firm, it is a flat fee, again, with Midwest having the additional transportation costs that we would incur. So Mayo is an all-in, Midwest is mostly all-in with some additional transportation costs, and then the current system is more a la carte, meaning those dollars or those amounts could vary from year to year depending upon, again, how many investigations, how many autopsies, and that sort of thing.
Mr. Chair. So we have some history on what our cost has been, which is a pretty good indicator going forward, correct?
Except for our 1 year, yes. So what we used for budgeting the last 2 years have been based on those averages.
It's been pretty consistent.
It has been consistent.
And I would agree, Mr. Chair, I would agree with Commissioner Abbey. I've talked to the two main funeral homes and they tend to do the multitude of the things. I do think it's good that the other two are willing to at least get involved in it because, you know, whenever there's a death in Allendale or Blooming Prairie that requires it, one of our Owatonna funeral homes has to go down there. So I think the return might be just a courtesy thing, if nothing else. But, and I found that in both cases, I think they generally like the service. I think there's a couple things that they would like to maybe see improved a little bit. And, but overall, I think they're pretty satisfied with the way things are. If you're looking for it, I would make a motion that we try and enter into a new contract with Dr. Moore. But I would add the caveat that she make contact with the sheriff's office, the police department, the funeral homes, and any other concerns, just to make sure that everything's lined up, that they're satisfied with the way things are going, and if there are any hiccups, that they're handled at the front end and taken care of. And like I said at the last meeting, we're just doing our due diligence on this, and but that would be my recommendation. I would make that motion.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
Mr. Chair, there's discussion.
Yes.
So, there's a concern on the ability to reach our coroner, and she has provided in her contract is this phone number the 911 phone number, or is that an actual contact number to contact her with questions, because I believe that's the
That's
dispatch. So is it possible to put in our motion that she provide a direct line contact instead of going through dispatch, at least at a minimum, to our administrator if she has questions? Or is that asking too much?
I believe she did. Did she give you her work cell phone number?
So it has been provided.
Her private number has been given to the county, and that number is to stay private.
Yes.
And so she's asked that we continue, everyone continues with the one call system that we were made aware of just recently that goes to Julie. However, if you're asking, I'm not sure if you're asking, you know, that she has a phone that.
I don't want her number out there. What I'm asking is if the
At least
minimum our
available.
administrator or
Yes, we have
has a
that.
question, we have a point of contact, as a direct line of contact. That's
We
all
do
I'm
have that
asking.
number.
Okay, that
Yes.
settles that.
It was provided.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, there's a motion on the table and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
So with that direction, we'll begin working with Dr. Moore for a new contract, which would then come to the board for your review. Her last contract was 4 years. Does the board have a preference? Do you want to go with the same amount? Would you want to go shorter? Would you want to go longer?
Sure.
Go ahead.
I think, I wouldn't want to go longer. I think we should, I thought it was 3 years.
I thought it was 3 too.
It's 4 years?
It's four.
It's 4 years. You know, in light of the concern, I think it would be worth, you know, trying 2 years, and then after 2 years, we can regroup and iron out any questions or concerns. But I would hope before the contract is up, if there are problems, that we're talking about them and not waiting to the end. So I would say we should try and work on a 2-year contract, and then we can go from there.
And then to Commissioner Krieger's comment, when I met with the funeral homes, I had expressed interest in convening another meeting, and they were all very supportive of that. So I think we could convene that meeting in conjunction with the negotiating of the contract, so that if specific provisions need to be built into the contract, we're doing that as part of our contract discussion.
And ultimately, this is not to satisfy the funeral homes, it's to satisfy the families, to make sure that they're taken care of in a compassionate way, and things are handled that help them get through situations that are not easy to get through, so.
Mr. Chair, regarding statute, the maximum length of the contract can only be 4 years, because the term of appointment can only be maximum of 4 years.
It's a maximum.
Maximum.
Do we need to amend our, motion to include the 2-year contract?
No, because that's just direction to staff in terms of what we would work on to bring back to the board for approval. What you've done is given staff direction that you are interested in working out a contract with Dr. Moore and maintaining the current approach.
Sounds great. Moving forward, number 15, approve the purchase of wetland banking credits for SAP 074 628-004 in the amount of $200,560, and authorize the Public Works Director and our county administrator to sign. Welcome, Jake.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. I'm here today to talk about the purchase of these wetland credits for the County State Aid Highway 28 project. If you recall, the County State Aid Highway 28 project will realign our County Road 28 around Beaver Lake. That project is also, also includes some park improvements as well for the regional park, the county park down in Beaver Lake. As part of that project, the realignment and the improvements do involve filling some wetlands. As part of our environmental review, we did have an EAW that was approved previously. That particular environmental document outlined kind of our process for avoidance, minimization, and ultimately mitigation. So this step is really for the mitigation of the impacts that we just simply couldn't avoid with the project itself. The project will essentially involve the realignment of 28, the parking lot, restoring a beach, adding trails, and replacing the boat launch. So the wetlands in this particular area were delineated back in 2021. Even with the iterations of the project, we ended up with an impact of about 2.18 acres for our project. State statute requires mitigation of wetlands that are impacted by projects such as this, and typically environmental agencies will require mitigation at a rate of 2 to 1. So 2 acres of replacement or mitigation for every 1 acre that's impacted. This would result in a total credit that we would need to obtain of 4.36. That plan, our mitigation plan itself was approved by SWCB back in 2025. The credits would be purchased through essentially the Board of Water and Soil and Resources, or Board of Water and Soil Resources. They would more or less do the work on our behalf. So they have credits available for us to purchase. We purchase the credits. They in turn go and handle the wetland mitigation on the county's behalf. That cost, which would include the 4.36 credits or 4.36 acres plus administrative fees for them to perform the work, is $200,560. And that cost was identified in the 2022 feasibility study that was presented to the Board of Commissioners. So with that, there is a recommendation in front of you where staff recommends approving the purchase of these wetland banking credits in the amount of $200,560. And at this point, I would stand for any questions.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Brady.
So there will be, this money will not be spent until all the Ts are crossed, Is are dotted, and any obstacles eliminated, correct?
Correct.
I know we discussed this in committee and went through it thoroughly. I know there's landowners here that usually during our meeting we have public comment at one time, but I don't know if you guys wanna, Brian, you wanna say anything?
I'd like to say something.
Yeah.
My name is Jane Broughton, landowner of the proposed Beaver Lake project. if this is a safety issue, why are we adding more curves on the roadway? There are 80,000-pound semi-trucks traveling this road back and forth every day hauling either liquid manure or recycled junkyard car parts. Sharpening up these road curves will make this road more dangerous for the drivers and lake pedestrians. Is this for safety? Why don't we hire lifeguards? There have been drownings, but there's no one been hit on the road. The landowners have not received any new plans or compensation for this project that is proposed to take place in the next few weeks. We were never given a full archaeological finding for the second dig. They want to keep this information from us because they found an Indian burial ground. They decided to change the park plans and we have never been notified, and we have no idea where the new boundaries are or if we have access to the same driveways that allow us to get to our farmland. The county is willing to give $46,000 per acre, almost $200,000 for wetland credits, but will pay the lakeshore homeowners $9,000 for an acre in front of my parents' home, which will wreck the property. They are also offering $67,000 for 4-acre hayfield, which is $16,000 an acre for prime lakeshore property. Lake homes on Beaver Lake are selling for $300,000 to over $1 million for a slither of land. We all agree the road must be moved to allow for people and boaters more room to access the lake, but why the most expensive plan? In their plans, they've allowed for $3,000 per park bench. They want 12. Picnic tables are $2,000, 20 of them. One garbage can is $800, they want 8. $400 for 2-inch trees, they want 66 of them. 2 pickleball courts for $200,000 each and $80,000 for pickleball lighting. This big expansion will just bring more chaos to a lake that's already overcrowded. There are only a handful of people around the lake that are for this big project. Many are against the project because it will just increase their taxes and increase the number of people and boats on an already busy lake. It'd be nice if the lakeshore owners could actually vote on this project because we are going to be affected the most.
Thank you. Any more discussion from the board? Board's wishes?
Chair, so this was discussed in committee?
Yep.
It was on that committee.
Thank you, Josh.
I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of wetland banking credits for SAP 074628004 in an amount of $200,560 and authorize the public works director and or county administrator to sign.
I'll second.
Motion is second. Is there any further discussion?
Chair, just a comment.
Yes.
I just want to remind the public that this project is to benefit the whole county, not just the property owners who live around the lake. I understand that it may generate more traffic, but there are people that don't have lake property that would love to enjoy a park and love to enjoy the lake. So it's there for everyone in the county to enjoy. It's a tough decision, but I think it makes sense for our county to have a nice park, and it is our own lake, so it's our only option.
And we all know that that access is hazardous. To be able to back into that, access without worrying about cars coming through. And there's some amenities there, like you stated, that, will benefit everybody in the county, but, and maybe other counties, but the biggest thing is that public access. So, there's a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? See none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.